Well, thousands of Catholics have gathered in St. Peter's Square for the funeral of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. 125 cardinals and 400 bishops were among those in the audience to pay their respects to the 265th Pope. Heads of state and royalty, clergy from around the world, and thousands of Catholics were in attendance. CTV's Heather Butts is at the Vatican and joins us live with the latest. Heather, I'm assuming the funeral has obviously wrapped up now. What was the mood like? Was it the low-key event that, Pope Emeritus Benedict was hoping for?
It was a very simple funeral here today, but as simple as one can be when you have the Basilica as your backdrop, as the funeral was held here in St. Peter's Square. But the service itself was quite simple. In fact, some people even thinking it was even more simpler than they expected. Of course, it was a very historic day here as Pope Francis presided over the service. This morning, it was very foggy, cool, and damp here in St. Peter's Square, and it really set the tone for this service as the coffin was brought out through the fog and into view. There was this beautiful, soft applause through the audience. It was a really moving way to start the service. And then throughout, there was some beautiful music, of course, the choir. And Pope Francis noting Benedict, obviously, throughout his homily, but not speaking specifically to his legacy. So there weren't too many personal touches that one might expect at a funeral. It was very focused on verse, and that is what Benedict himself was always focused on. And so many people here felt that was quite fitting at this very simple funeral, Jennifer.
And Heather, we know that, Pope Emeritus Benedict, he was more of a private man, not exactly as what some might describe as the people's pope, more in his head, theoretical, although he did don those red leather shoes and wear a Santa's hat one year. So what was the mood among the people there in the square who gathered, to catch a glimpse of this moment in history?
Well, people were very moved to be here. They traveled from all over to be here in attendance. People who have a very strong religious connection to him, some a very personal connection. We spoke with one group of friends who traveled here from Germany, of course, his native country, and said when he passed, they felt it in their heart that they needed to be here to say their final farewell and to pay tribute. Spoke with another young woman who met him when she was just 6 years old and remembers it vividly, remembers him holding her hand and looking her in the eye and speaking to her. And she's held on to that now into her early 20s. So she organized a bus of about 50 people to take an overnight bus from Germany to get here for the service. Jennifer, you mentioned those famous red shoes. We actually spoke with the cobbler who made some of them just a few days ago, and the two of them formed this remarkable friendship over the years. So some people feeling a very great loss for both religious reasons, but also very personal reasons, Jennifer.
Yeah, so perhaps he was a people's pope, but just in his own subtler, quieter way. And Heather, can you talk about some of the delegates and royalty who attended the funeral? I know that Italy and his home country Germany, they sent delegates, but no other delegates from other countries, correct?
There was a number of delegates sitting near the front. We do know also that the focus was really on the clergy. There was more than 4,000 of them, priests and bishops at the front there as well. Of course, a cardinal, at least two cardinals, excuse me, from Canada as well. So it was a very touching tribute, but really, Jennifer, the focus was on everyone else who came here. Again, not as big as it expected. The Vatican thought it would be about 100,000 people here. It was just 50,000, but those who were here were very devout. They were devout Catholics, but they had that very strong connection, they felt, to Benedict, and as I mentioned, traveled from far and wide to come here today.
All right, CTV's Heather Butts live for us in Vatican City. Thank you so much, Heather. Take care.